In this and the next 2 videos, we are going to create a blog homepage and turn this into this. In a project of this kind, I like to start setting the global elements of the website, so colors, typography, the general layout, header, and footer. And that's what we are going to do in this video. As part of this mini-series of videos, we are going to use the free version of GeneratePress. Keep in mind that the premium version will help you to save a little bit of time, but using the free version will allow me to share with you some extra concepts on how to build a WordPress website. One last note before we start is that this is a classic WordPress theme with some ideas from blog themes. If you don't know the differences between the two, you can check this video right here. We're going to start with colors. We want to set some global colors so we can reuse them consistently for the entire project. I have my Figma file right here with the design of the website that I'm going to recreate, and this is where I'm going to extract my colors. To keep this simple, you can see that I used almost a monochromatic scale of colors with a little bit of an orange accent for the main CTA. To set colors, we are going to open the customizer, and then we click on colors. And in this example, I'm going to keep these colors, the default ones, and we are going to add a bunch of new colors with the plus icon right here. We're also setting a label on each color so we can quickly recognize them later. To specify this color, you can use the color picker or set it to a specific value with the field under the label. Then I'm going to add the rest of the colors of this palette. And when that's done, we are ready to apply them to the main layout elements of GeneratePress. When necessary, we'll also be able to use these colors in the block editor as well. Often, you don't need to assign a color to every single item, but just to some of them. And while you're setting colors, you may see 2 or 3 colors on the same line. Starting from the left, you set first the default color of that element or component, then the hover state color, and in the case of menu items, the current state, which means setting the color that will be displayed on the menu item of the current page. Configuring typography with GeneratePress is incredibly simple. You first add the fonts you plan to use right here in the typography panel. By default, you will find some Google fonts. In my case, I'm going to use Barlow. In the font manager, you can also select only the font variants you need. I'm not 100% sure how GeneratePress handles this part, but to be safe, here I include only the font weights I need. So in this way, we don't risk requiring extra resources, because that could impact the performance of the website. Then to configure the font hierarchy, I'm going to open this page, which by default is not included with WordPress. It's just a basic page I've created with the main headings and the body text, so we can see the effects of the settings in real time. And my scale in this project is extremely simple. I'm basically going to start from 18 pixels for the body text and then multiply that by 1.2 for all the font sizes I need. So starting from the body text, then H6 up to H1. So we click on Add Typography and then we start to target elements. If you're not sure what line 8 value you should use, set it as 1.5 for the body text and for the smaller copy in general, and set it at 1.3 for the headings. Then, once we are done, we can close this down, hit publish, and now we have our new font scale. Of course, don't look at the sidebar because again, we are going to remove that. And then we need to take care of the header and footer. We'll try to create them as they appear in the original design. Of course, this design is super simplified, and we don't have a mobile version. So in this little project, we'll just use the default mobile header that GeneratePress includes in its free version. And a fundamental part of the header is the menu. We can create a new menu right here in the customizer or also in the WP admin area right here in Appearance. I usually prefer to do it here. First, we give it a name and add some items. At the moment, most of these menu items will be placeholders, so that's why I'm adding custom links with an hash, and I'm going to replace them later with the correct links. When we are ready, we click on Create Menu. Then you need to set a location for this. Locations can vary depending on your theme. With GeneratePress, we just select Primary Menu and save it. For this small website, I'm also creating 2 additional menus for the footer. Also here, we have a bunch of temporary placeholders. Once the menus are set, if we check for a moment the Figma file, we notice that we need to add a logo to the header. And to do that, we go to the site identity panel. We're going first to hide the title and the tagline, since we don't need them in this case, and we upload the image of the logo. Here WordPress will ask you if you want to crop it, but the image is already cropped in my case, so I'm just going to skip this. As you see, by default the logo is huge, but we can specify the correct width with this setting. And in this install, I'm also going to set the site icon with the same logo image. And this will be also used as favicon near the website title. By looking again at the header, I notice now that the menu items aren't exactly matching with the design. So I'll go back to typography, click on add, target primary menu items and set them with their correct size and weight. Also the color doesn't match with the design yet, so let's go back to colors and under primary navigation we can correct them. In this case, we set the items on main link color by default, and for over and current we use the accent color. Now we also change the style of the menu items. I think they match, but the header in general still doesn't match because we need to change its width. We are going back to that part later when we change the layout and remove the sidebars. For the moment, let's move forward and work on the footer. We start with almost nothing. By default, we just have some credits and that's it. First of all, we need to add some widgets, and one way to do it is going back to WP Admin, under Appearance, Widgets. We find some content by default, but we can remove that right away. Widget areas use Gutenberg, the same block editor that I showed you in one of my last videos. To build the footer on this new website, we can start with Footer Widget 1, which is the area where we need to add the extended site logo and a short paragraph. One note about these widget areas is that they can also change depending on the theme. What you see here are the areas that GeneratePress added. Of course, with a little bit of code, we can create, in case of need, more widget areas, or even remove the ones that we don't need. Once the first area is done, if we look at the design again, we see we have another 2 widget areas, and here we are going to use 2 navigation menu widgets. And in each one, we add the menus that we created before for the footer. Now, if we go back to the front end, we are still quite far in terms of design, so we need to make some other edits with the customizer. Let's go back to typography. We can still target widget titles and edit them, but then with a limit. At least with the free version of GeneratePress, because at the moment there's not a specific target for menu items of the footer. So to edit these, we need to create a CSS selector. If you are a beginner and you don't know CSS, this may be a little bit confusing, but it's really simple. We add a string here to tell GeneratePress that we are selecting those specific menu items. The selector will be the following. To select the class of a specific element, we use a dot, and for HTML elements, we just use the tag name. And with that selector, we are targeting all the links of a menu in the footer widgets container element. So now we can change the typography. Once we've done this, we need to change these new items colors, so we go back briefly on the colors panel. At this stage, as you see, we still have the wrong spacing on these elements, and also we still have the bottom footer, which is not in the original design. We'll take care of that part in the next video, because it's a great chance to show you where and how you can add code to customize WordPress. But before closing this video, we also need to take care of the general layout settings and get rid of sidebars. Now on this page, we don't see it anymore because we removed all the predefined widgets from the sidebar, but it's still there. In the mockup, we see that the header, the main content, and the footer are wider. So to edit this, we go to the layout panel in sidebars and remove it with the sidebar layout setting. Then we switch to the content panel. We set content layout on one container and the container width to 1280. That's all for now. In the next 2 videos, we'll work with some simple code and then we'll focus on the content of the homepage. I'll see you there.